Hello everyone, here we are together. We have almost reached the end of the journey together. We have been going through a long way, starting from the beginning and all the way until we have reached now the final presentation regarding the evaluation domain of business analysis. And that is also for your preparation to pass the Project Management Institute, the exam Business Analysis Professional. Remember guys, it shows and it takes lots of efforts to maintain discipline and show responsibility to start and complete a task, whether it is a small activity, small task, or bigger endeavor, or a project, or a preparation for your exam such as the PMI PBA. I have committed to provide as much information as possible, whatever I know, to help you guys prepare for that. And I have kept my promise. So that shows a responsibility and seriousness that a business analyst or a project manager shows discipline and responsibility by starting something from the beginning until its closure. That is fulfilling promises, delivering projects, delivering value. So here we are together, and I'm hoping that you guys go back to the previous presentations. Do not rely only on those presentations, but go ahead and look for more examples, practice more examples, research a bit, study more, and build on the foundation that we have provided through these presentations. Without further ado, let us go through the next slides of this presentation. Before we go, make sure you hit that subscribe button down in the right hand side corner. What are we going to discuss? So now you guys are acquainted with the way I am moving and the concepts that we are covering. So more or less it's the same concept. We're gonna have an introduction of that final domain in your preparation, which is evaluation domain. Go through the key topics, run through the deliverables and the tasks. Also, we're gonna focus on the tools and techniques, and these are very important as always, as every domain. They are very important gear for you guys to pass the exam. These are the tools that are used in business analysis. Okay. A quick introduction and a definition at a very high level. Evaluation domain mainly is the domain where the business analyst jointly combines his efforts with the testers, with the project manager, and with the solution team, and with the stakeholders to evaluate that the solution is a working solution before deployment. If in that domain the business analyst determines based on facts that this working solution, which has already taken a lot of time from all parties, and the company, the organization invested money and resources, still this is the time to say no-go decision for deployment. So all the efforts can be aborted and the solution can be abandoned at that stage before deployment and turning it over into operation. That is a quick definition and overview. Right? So the main key is for the business analyst to ensure that the solution is a working solution and evaluate the solution that it meets the objectives and the business case and it brings value. When does the domain take place? The domain as you know, we have gone through the previous presentation. We have discussed traceability and monitoring, which covers from the planning, from the beginning of the business analysis planning phase all the way till solution evaluation and deployment. So evaluation domain starts after the analysis phase, after the build phase. Okay, we haven't focused much on the build phase, though you will get 1 or 2 questions on the build phase, where the business analyst is just on standby to support with any clarification with the requirements while the solution team is building the solution. So after the build phase, we have the evaluation domain, and it is after the build phase and before the solution deployment phase. Business analysis responsibilities in that domain. Before that, stakeholders involved. Who are the stakeholders involved? As we know now, we have the sponsor, definitely is the ultimate authority, the project manager, where the business analyst reports to the project manager. We have the solution team, the technical architects. We have the testers. We have the business analyst for sure, and we have the regulator, which provides in some predictive life cycle projects, provides the testing rules and regulations, where it is the responsibility of the business analyst to ensure that the test cases and the testing satisfies these the regulator's requirement, which are from compliance perspective. Business analyst BA responsibilities. BA responsibilities. What are the responsibilities? We have hit the majority of the responsibilities. We'll run through them quickly now. The business analyst always refer to the business analysis plan, as always. And the planning is proper planning, like we said, proper planning. Plan the work properly, work the plan. That's it. So the business analyst in that domain refers back to the business analysis plan. Work with the testers to create test cases. Of course, testers or quality assurance disciplines, because mainly in an ideal situation, not in a practical situation, not like in the exam. In the exam assumes that the business analyst will be doing the testing, is the responsible party for performing the testing, in addition to the testers and the QA, the quality assurance. But in ideal situation, we know some testing strategies are performed by QA department, quality assurance department, and some by the testers, and the business analyst oversees the whole process. Identify and analyze the root cause of each defect and prioritize defects. So root cause analysis doesn't end in needs assessment domain, as we discussed. We perform root cause analysis whenever we have a problem to solve, or whenever we have a defect. So in needs assessment, we had a problem or opportunity or constraint. You remember the key tasks? We had a problem, so root cause analysis, Ishikawa diagram, fishbone diagram, 5 whys, all sorts of tools and techniques were used. The root cause analysis can also be performed root cause analysis is performed also in the evaluation domain. Okay? It's performed on defects. to identify what is the cause at that stage of these defects, of these problems, in order for them to solve, to know the cause, in order to deal with the cause to solve it. And also prioritization of defects. Again, if we assume, or the business, the exam, the PMI PBA exam assumes that we have done proper planning. So if we have done proper planning, there should be no much problems in identifying defects. We should not have much defects, right? So, but let's assume that we have defects, therefore we'll have to also use some prioritization techniques to prioritize these defects and set a strategy shared with the stakeholder based on which defects will be resolved first and which are high priority, medium and low priorities. Validate that the solution meets the acceptance criteria, the success metrics. Okay. In planning, we have defined the acceptance criteria. Okay. In analysis, we have refined this acceptance criteria. Okay. After baselining, if there is a change which invokes the change control process, again, that through a progressive elaboration and revisiting the work and through iterations, we will again refine further the acceptance criteria until we reach the evaluation domain, where we need to determine that the solution meet this acceptance criteria or the success matrix or KPIs, key performance indicators. So these are all measurements that we need to make sure they are fulfilled and satisfied in the evaluation domain. And then after that, we will have to facilitate as business analysts a go or no go decision, as we said. And there is a mistake here, I think. Go, no go, no. Go, no go decision, we have to facilitate. Okay, I thought repeated words. So then evaluate the solution post implementation. So we have, in evaluation, we have two common terms that normally people confuse, right? So in evaluation, you have post implementation and you have validation. So validation happens before determining a go, before making a go or no go judgment call or decision on the project. So validation happens before. Okay, I validate that this solution brings business value, meet the business case, the benefits outweighs the cost. It is a go decision. Then after going, I deploy it and turn it over into operation. And then in post implementation, in some organizations, for a period of 6 months or a period of 1 year or 2 years, you will be having evaluation of the solution post the implementation for that period of time. So in evaluation, I check whether there is benefit realization. That means the end user or the users are maximizing the utilization of that solution, and they are using it to generate value for the company. Major tasks of evaluation. As we said, evaluation, we have 4 steps. First of all, we have to validate the solution. How do we validate? We need to test it. We need to test the acceptance criteria. We need to perform testing and make sure it brings value. If yes, then we say green light, a go decision. We make a go decision. If no, we have immediately to inform our project manager and stakeholders and the sponsors, actually, that solution is we should not go with that decision, and definitely discuss and provide the facts, and we should abandon it, and whatever we have invested is a sunk cost. Okay. After that, we have to identify and resolve problems. As we said, we have defects. We need to perform some tools and techniques which are common with the needs assessment, such as root cause analysis or fishbone diagram, to determine what is the problem, what is the root cause of that problem. Okay, so we have to identify and resolve these defects or problems. After we resolve these problems and we are still making a judgment call with a good decision on that project or solution, we have to get a solution sign off from the sponsor, which is the ultimate authority. Sometimes the sponsor can delegate that authority to someone else and henceforth provide the signature, but we should always get a solution sign off before moving on to the next steps. Evaluate deployed solution, that is after turning it over into operations. We have to evaluate, as we discussed, what is the benefit realization from that solution which we have delivered. Organizational readiness assessment, that's one of the deliverables. Okay, we need to assess the readiness of the organization, as the technique indicates, as the name indicates. So is the organization ready to accommodate that change, that solution? Okay, that is one of the deliverables. Transition requirements, again, what are the training procedures, what are mainly the training procedures or the data conversion to help transition smoothly from projects from the projectized environment into the operation environment. Implementation plan strategies. Okay, right, that's one of the key tools and techniques. Also, we have deliverables, but it's common, we will see it down there, we'll see it in the tools and techniques, but now we are talking about the deliverables. Okay, what are the implementation strategies? I have made a good decision, I'm assuming we made a good decision with that deployment. Now I need to also provide the implementation plan. How am I going to do? Am I doing a pilot testing on a small prototype or a small staging scenario before I am running it? Am I doing a cutover? Some systems in operations, let's say I am shutting down and immediately connecting the new system, that's cutover, right? Phased roll, and definitely each strategy has its own risks and considerations, which if we're gonna discuss about them is gonna take so long in that presentation, so we're gonna go through the high level definition of each one of them. So phased rollout, I am performing a phased approach, regional phased approach, right? So let's say I roll that solution in Canada, then I roll it in UAE, then I roll it in so it's regional, right? Parallel processing, I have a working system, I do not shut it down, I let it work and I implement the new solution in parallel with that system. That is that strategy carries the lowest risk because I'm not tampering with an existing system. However, at the other side of the scale, we have a higher amount of investment incurred because of the resources. I have resources operating here and resources operating there, so the operating cost is high for that. So solution defects, we have discussed them. Okay, mitigation actions for outstanding defects. Okay, sometimes I cannot resolve all the defects. There will be some remaining defects, minor or not minor. However, if I agree with the stakeholders that with these defects we can move on and deploy, and these are the workarounds or the contingency solutions in place, we will deploy, and then during post implementation we will close these defects, and but for now we will be operating with the workaround. So that is an explanation of that point. Approval of the solution. Of course, from as we said, from the sponsor, or the sponsor will delegate that to one of his stakeholders, key stakeholders. Go, no-go decision. We have discussed that. Post-implementation assessment. We have gone through that. And metrics. We have covered this in our discussion earlier. What are the tools and techniques utilized in evaluation? Okay, what are the tools? Brainstorming, of course. A team will sit together in evaluation and would be brainstorming test cases. Okay, again, brainstorming is a group creativity technique for generating ideas. So it's always better to sit in a group and define, or to determine how I'm going to implement the test cases. Now you would be asking me, Michel, but you said test cases will be built earlier during planning. Correct, but still brainstorming has its own advantages in that scenario. Test readiness review. As the name indicates, the test is ready. The review of the test has been completed and the test is ready to be carried over. Inspection. One of the important testing. Here we started with the testing now. These are the testing types. So inspection. That's the first type of testing, to inspect first of all, to have a look, to view. Then unit testing, normally that's the second one, unit testing. Unit testing can start in the build phase, a little bit in the build phase, and then unit testing you will have, the definition of unit testing, you will take a small piece of the solution and test it separately and complete that test. The second, after immediately unit testing, normally we have the integration testing. Integration testing is we are bringing several small pieces or several solution subcomponents and integrating them together as a whole, and not yet as a whole, but small pieces integrated together. This is what is called integration testing. Regression testing is I've integrated, like, let's say 3 components of the solution, 1, 2, 3, all combined together. Then on one of these 3 pieces of the small solution, I've performed some changes. Then regression testing, after performing a change here, I want to see the ramification or implications of the changes on one of these small portions or solution subcomponents on the others. Therefore, I perform again what is called regression testing to see what is the outcome of the change on the other components of the solution. Exploratory testing, as the name indicates, we let the tester or the end user or the customer or the client perform experimental testing and explore all the features of the product. We leave it for him to be exploring and experimenting. Day in the life testing, DITL. This is normally a 1-day testing. It's a semi-formal type of testing performed, and it's mainly more accurate than exploratory testing. Performance testing. Okay, performance testing is again checking the acceptance criteria, okay, or the non-functional part of the solution requirement. You remember, we have in solution requirement we have functional, non-functional, such as performance and abilities, capabilities, whatever, quality of service, let's say, and then we have the quality, which is the acceptance criteria. So performance testing is making sure we meet the acceptance criteria. User acceptance testing. That is the most important type of testing, and you will have a lot of questions on that and on that type of testing in the exam. And user acceptance testing is mainly done by the end user, checking all features and functionalities of a working solution. Right? This is the user acceptance testing. Audit, as the name indicates, this technique is used to make sure the tests, for instance, conform to regulatory agencies' procedures and test plans, for instance. Organization modeling, we have discussed it. Okay. Data conversion, which is the data that will be shifted as part of the transition to the new into operations. Root cause analysis, we have discussed it. It's a tool and technique used in evaluation to identify defects. Gap analysis. Okay, we need to check the impact. Gap and impact analysis are done together mainly. We see what are the gaps, what do we have, what we have missed from these requirements, what are the components of the solutions that are not meeting the requirement or the business need. We assess the impact of this analysis of these gaps based on the cost, on the risk, on the operation, and so these two tests are very important, and they are done together. And of course, problem tracking, we register all the problems with their dates upon their resolution, which date they have been solved. Okay. Again, when we said the BA in collaboration with the stakeholders is going to facilitate helping in a decision to make a judgment call whether it's a go decision or no go decision for the project. There we have the group decision techniques, which we have discussed before in our previous presentations. Just we run quickly through them. Majority, where the majority of the people present in that meeting will agree. Okay, there will be a minority which do not agree. This is not the best case scenario. As we said, consensus. I forgot maybe to put consensus here. It's a group decision technique. So mainly the consensus group decision technique is the best, and it is the responsibility of the business analyst to resolve stakeholders' conflicts in order to ensure consensus, to make the stakeholders reach a consensus decision in that meeting room. Multi-voting, it's based on voting. Okay. Again, people will be voting for the best whether go or no go decision. Delphi method, again we discussed it. Autocratic or dictatorship. Compromise, it's not the best also. Because why? There will be one stakeholder, for instance, will lose a little bit from his requirement, and the other stakeholder will also lose from his requirement. Therefore, this is also not the best group decision-making techniques, but it is still a decision-making technique. Survey or questionnaire, how I'm gonna assess the post implementation that this solution brings back business value and is used by all the users, and brings back benefit realization is through issuing, for instance, surveys and questionnaires. Mainly, as we said, the questions should be close-ended questions in that questionnaire. Compared to the focus group is another post-implementation technique. We have seen it before, but in that technique, compared to survey or questionnaire, mainly the BA is a moderator, or we have a moderator that will generate open-ended questions, and people in that meeting will be providing their feedback on the working solution. So, with that, that's the final slide. We have done a lot, guys. You guys have been amazing, go ahead and go through all the presentations again. That's very important. I guarantee you that this is 80 or 85% of your preparation to the exam if you understand each and every deliverable task, tools and technique. If you understand the entire concept, okay, you will back up yourselves by performing extra and additional researches, do some examples, as I said, read a little bit more, plug the gaps, perform some gap analysis on yourself before going. This would be a very good exercise before sitting for the exam, and believe me, you will pass the exam. I have full confidence that this material, which we have covered from the beginning till now, is 85% of the whole logical concept, backed up definitely with the 15% which you will invest in researching and studying more self-studies, and that would be enough. Okay, I will promise you, initially I'm thinking now I could do a final short video on tips for the exam, tactics that you would be using. These are from my learnings I would like to share with you, so I can promise you a very short one, 15 minutes maybe, discussing all these tips, and then you will have the full package to go through it. It doesn't take much of your time. Believe me, not more than 10 days. Every day you will watch one of these presentations. If you did not fully understand it, go again, pause, stop where I was speaking, research a little bit more about something that it wasn't clear. Ask me, I will answer you, no problem. Okay, and within 10 days you would have done 85%, and I would say you would be very confident, and you will pass that exam, no doubt, guys. If you liked that presentation, hit the subscribe button, engage and comment with each other, ask me your questions, and I will do my best to answer all of them. Take care.